It is a land most of us thought we would never see, and a people we thought we would never meet. For our history was of a Cold War, with ominous events such as the missile crisis and Cold War names such as the Bay of Pigs. I would have never guessed that I would stand here at that Bay of Pigs and only see some of the most beautiful ocean scenes possible on Earth. In this and next week's Worth Watching reports, we will visit Cuba, even see those old cars we grew up with. But first, it was another unheard of thought that brought me to Cuba, observing a religious trip to the land once declared an atheist state. It is perhaps both ironic and meaningful that humanitarian efforts, religion, and faith are leading the way in bringing the people of Cuba and the United States together. The Episcopal Diocese of Utah's Bishop, Scott Hayashi, and 10 other bishops of the Episcopal Church made a historic visit to Cuba and observed a changing country.
I think the most important thing that's given is a relationship that crosses boundaries of all sorts, and the learning that comes from that relationship of what life is like for each of us in our respective places.
2 years ago, they planned to just visit in support of Cuban Episcopal Bishop Griselda. But timing changed that. World-changing events, the week we were there, turned it into a time to start a conversation about uniting faiths once separated by the Cold War.
I think countries so close, they cannot continue having a barrier between them.
They found churches rising out of the ashes. Cuban citizen and our government tour guide, Manny Escalona, says that the youth are part of the rebirth.
Absolutely, I'm so surprised. You know, sometimes I call it the renaissance of religion in Cuba. Not one specific one, of all of them. And that's great.
Churches lost their property and bank accounts and have taken old houses or vacant buildings and made churches. What Manny called the renaissance of religion is not just what goes on in a house church. It is a feeling of sharing. It is humanitarian. It is life-giving. In this little village of Atibo, a man said he could plant a garden in a vacant lot, and now it's a farm for the whole town.
It's like a paradise in the middle of the city.
And now they've added pigs, again, all to share. You see, the people is being united in a way we could learn from them. Down the road in the village of Favorito, the people turned a once-collapsed house into a church. But more importantly, they are building a water system for the whole town of 3,000 people. Americans are helping. A small church in Jackson Hole is assisting this congregation, but the Cubans are not asking for tons of money. They were asking for replacement needles for a sewing machine. There are things happening in Cuba we probably never thought were possible. Now, in a land where 99% of the billboards are Communist Party propaganda and old revolution reminders, the head of religious affairs of the Central Committee of the Communist Party sat down and had dinner with Bishop Hayashi and the others over a home-cooked meal. It is a new time. The people of Cuba are returning to churches. Still, only about 2% of the population attends, which is about what churches get in the state of Washington. But Bishop Hayashi and the others say it's left them inspired. And again next week, we will look at daily life. We will see Hemingway's hotel, dancing, shopping, and a car ride speeding through Havana that I'll never forget. Indeed, it's a place of history and a history that's about to change. In Havana, Cuba, Craig Worth, good for Utah.